it finally came to me. So I had a conversation with Marcus today, and I wanted to get your opinion on it. We were talking about
Okay.
because we saw some video of some guy, and he had good points, but then he, you know, how someone sometimes like they'll have a good point, but it's like the way they say it. Like if you had worded that a little better, you would have sounded a lot less like a douchebag. But the way you
Guilty.
said it,
Guilty. Yeah.
yeah. um. So he was
Not gonna
talking
lie.
about the guy was talking about Western women today, like especially women in the U.S. And how the value system has kind of gone a different
Okay.
direction, and how they call it like passport bros, where there's all these men that are just going overseas to find like international women because they still have their values and whatever, and how there's no good women in the West anymore. And we were talking about that, and I was like, look, like he has sort of a point in the fact that yeah, like there's definitely a um like a group of women now that I don't need no man and da 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 da, and they're very unappreciative of the work that men do, like the jobs that you just don't think about: electricians, plumbers, loggers, miners, railroad, things that you just don't really like think about, but 95% all male dominated stuff. And you could ask any woman, and they don't want to go do that job because those jobs suck, but they pay well and they're needed. But it's mainly male
Mm-hmm.
dominated because women don't want to do it. And I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not gonna go chop down trees. No. Um, but I would say like the pushback on that, and that's why I mean like the way that he worded it, because I'm like, well, you could push back on that too and say that there's a lot of men today that are not the old school man, or the like, if you want me to be the trad wife, well then you need to be the trad husband, okay? Going, working, making enough money to pay all the bills so I can sit here and prip and prop my hair and take care of the kids and make you 3 meals a day and yada yada yada. Well, you got to make enough, especially with the price of groceries right now. You got to make enough for all the food. You got to make enough for me to get my hair and my nails done, because that shit ain't cheap. You, if you want the traditional wife, then I need the traditional husband. But with these, like,
Well,
the Andrew Tate, like, red pill guys, they don't want to have the other side of that conversation, though.
no,
Like,
no.
so what do you think
Here's the thing
about
though. There's a lot of
like
women on the other
Western
side.
women?
Western. Well, I mean, they're hit and miss. That's for sure. Um, I mean, you know, the culture can change. The culture in this country can change anybody's perspective really quick because they find a part of that culture that generated that benefits them in their mind, and they can go, well, that could be me. That could be me. I could be this person and that person, but then I'm willing to give up this, and that because that inconveniences me. Whereas you go overseas and you have women who are somewhat suppressed sometimes and are looking for a chance to open up, and then they find a guy from the Western area who sweeps them off their feet, and all of a sudden, let me show you how we do things over here, but they only show them what they want them to see, and then their mind, that's all they know. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of women like that. You know, look, I'm a people person. You and I may not agree with everything, but I'm gonna find a reason to like you because that's how relationships work. And if it gets to the point to where I just don't agree with you at all and think we're just gonna fight, then maybe we'll go our separate ways. But as far as Western women are concerned, once again, I've only dated Western women, so I mean, or in my case, married a girl from. My wife was born in Connecticut, but she was raised in Plano, Texas, most of her life, and so in my mind, she's pretty much a Texan, although she's kind of a Yankee. But my mom was a Yankee. My mom was born in New York City. My dad was born in South Carolina. So I mean, there's always different values you get in different parts of this country already that can help shaping who you are. I don't have any problem. I mean, I don't think I have a hard time getting a passport just to go overseas to vacation. So to go over there to look for a wife would be kind of a bit of a throw for me. I don't think I would go that route. Especially if I'm trying to find the right one. That just sounds a bit too much for me. And hey, look, I'm not an overseas person to begin with. I mean, I like this country enough to where I'll travel each and every state of. I mean, I'm only missing 7 states. I'll travel every state and go into every little town. In fact, our next episode is going to be one of those episodes where we're going to talk about a trip that we took.
Yeah.
So, look, everybody
what do you
likes
think
what they
about?
like, right? And everybody's gonna.
What do you think about the red pill men? Like, do you think they're a little full of themselves?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, what is this, the Matrix? I mean, come on. I mean, red pill, blue pill. What the hell? I mean, I saw the Matrix. I didn't understand that movie. Why would I understand a natural person being like that? Look, this is all. It's almost like it's kind of a cult following, really. If you only operate under these certain rules, you can be a part of this club. Yeah, Scientology has that too. And I got news for you. I'm not a Scientologist, so good luck with all that. Anything organized like that, I'm totally against. I was brought up with George Carlin, okay? And George Carlin was anti-group, anti-establishment, anti-everything because, he was not about mind control. He was not about, how we're going to change you so you can change everybody else. He's like, fuck that. Pardon my language. But I mean, that was him. And he was very much on par with that because, government tries to mind control you a lot, I mean, they, whether you're left or right, those sides will sit there and cater to every one of your needs to make you feel safe and sound with them. And it's just, how you look at things. I can look at the left side, I can look at the right side and go, both sides, I can agree on most of what they talk about. I can disagree with it as well, too, And so let's, like your wonderful show, The Middle Ground, let's find that. And whether it's religion that's part of the mind control thing or whether it's politics, whatever, and people always say the worst thing you ever talk about on a podcast is politics and religion. Here we are. So
That's all we talk about.
I'm just it's always that in sports. I mean, the thing is that I personally am not, as I know it pisses off Wiley to anything else. He loves the fact that we have to come on here and make me talk or politics, which I don't really talk a lot about it because I'll let you do your thing on it. But I kind of stay to myself with it because I don't particularly belong to any particular type of group, and I'll sit there and I'll ask you questions about Trump. I'll ask you questions about Biden, but I'm not going to sit there and, be okay. I'm bought and paid for. I'm going to go do that. Yeah, I'm not bought and paid for by anybody. So I'll just sit there and go, okay, nice. And again, you talk about the red pill person or the person that's,
the red pill guy
of that ilk or whatever. Yeah,
it's the Andrew Tate following.
I don't get it.
The red pill guys are like the ones who think that if they have a lot of money, then they're a provider, and women. It's the type of guy who thinks that women belong in the kitchen and they should be submissive and they should do what you want them to do, and they're not supposed to have guy friends and they're not supposed to have this and that because it's an insult to your ego or it's a bad look for you or something, and that they
people like that are very threatened. Then they're very threatened by the change that could occur. If you're a good person, if you're a really good person and the person you're with loves that about you and is willing to live their life to please you, that's on them. But if you sit there and you're an ass to them and you're making them drive them to another person, and all of a sudden they're going to sit there and go, live the life I want with this guy, or this person's off, as being really cool to me and being very, wondering about how I'm doing as opposed to making me worrying about how he's doing. See, that's the whole thing. Like, if you're with someone, and not that I'm an expert at this because I'm not, but if you ask that person, hey, how you doing today? Are you doing okay? Is there anything I can do to help you out today or whatever else? That's great. and the other person's the same way, that's awesome. But if it's only a one-way street, then you go nowhere with that, because at that point it's all about that person or it's all about you, and relationships are all about the two people or the group that you're with, or whatever.
Partnership.
All for one, or whatever it goes. But those people who are like that, I don't get it. I don't think a woman should have to be, that way towards a guy. I don't think a guy needs to be that way towards a woman either. I mean, there are some women who sit there and they think they're just the best shit they've ever seen. And they're going, and Sam Kinison would always have a joke saying, it's like, you women are such devils because all you have to do is just say, guess what I got? I got the thing you want. Now, come on. And the guy's like, I gotta go. She's got that. No. So, but it's a big world, right? And I don't know. Look.
I can understand parts of it, and there's other parts that I don't understand, where it's like, I can understand the disrespect factor. Like, if your girl's going to a bar all the time, a place where she's going to be obviously getting hit on by dudes and whatnot. Now, there's a trust factor there where you do have to trust that they're going to be okay, but I do also understand the disrespect factor where it's kind of disrespectful to the person that you're with, that you're still putting yourself in that position when you're in a committed relationship. I can understand that. Now, do I think it's okay on occasion? Like, I don't think for me, it's like any relationship. I don't think you should be up each other's ass 24/7 because I think that almost makes the relationship unhealthy. But I do understand. I understand the respect factor, like not going places with someone of the opposite sex alone and like stuff like that. Like, I understand the respect factor. What I don't agree with is these guys that think like just because they have money they're a catch, or just because they're handsome they're a catch, and they want this trad wife stuff. But it's like, but you're not the traditional. Just because you got a lot of money doesn't mean you're a provider. A provider isn't just the money part. Sure. A provider and protector, like a traditional man, is also the man that takes care of his woman. Like, he's going to, obviously provide financially, but then he's going to come home. He's going to make sure she's okay after she's been dealing with the kids and the house and everything else all day long. There's going to be equal representation in the bedroom. There's going to be other stuff. Like, if you look back to like your grandparents' relationship or great grandparents or whatever, that ideal relationship you remember as a kid. Like with my grandpa would come home after a 16-hour day, give my grandma a kiss, eat her dinner, ask us how all of our day was. We'd watch as a family, watch some game shows or whatever on the TV. Then he'd go to bed and do the same thing the next day. But he still made that time to make sure he took some time for his wife, took some time for his family, went to bed, got his butt up the next day and went back to work so that he can pay the bills. And yes, for some, I feel bad for some men because I don't think men get the appreciation that they deserve for how hard they work and how great they are. I love men. But I also think it's like these red pill dudes kind of forget how much work it is to be the traditional stay-at-home wife. Like, you want me to look good and have the house look good and have the kids taken care of and the meals taken care of and all this stuff. And that stuff costs money and it takes time. And what you would have to pay to have this done without me, like childcare, maid, like personal shopper, I don't think you have to have that mutual appreciation if you want that kind of relationship. It's not, you're not the alpha male just because you make a lot of money.
It's funny when you mentioned the whole thing about the grandparents and how you view them. Like, I view that very same way about my grandparents, because the part of my grandfather I remember was him post-stroke in 82 when his right side had been pretty much deteriorated and now he's just functioning on his left side. So I don't remember much of him when he was able to walk without a cane and everything else. But then I'd hear the stories years later after he had passed away, how my dad would say, yeah, every once in a while your grandfather would, I just call him my Mac Daddy because his name was Mac and whatever. So he was the Mac Daddy for us. But, he said, yeah, Mac Daddy would always take me and take me and your uncle Ronnie over to this whorehouse over here, so and so area, and Wilmington. I'm like, what? And then like saying, yeah, we sit there and talk to the girls while he was in there doing this thing. I'm like, my grandfather did that. And then, but then I'm like, but then like I'm sitting there going, well, I know who his wife was, so maybe because this is the same woman I couldn't stand. So like, I mean, there's that. But you know, at the same time, I'm not saying that he was right to do that, but I'm just saying it was different. It was a different time back then. Like
you were in it for till the end.
Yeah, right. So and trust me, when he got sick and he was starting to deteriorate and everything, and she'd sit there and she'd yell at him all the, why can't you get up and do anything? And he's sitting there going, bitch, I had a stroke. What do you expect? I mean, but so this is why I wanted to do the crazy shit that I did, because you just being an ass. But not that that's right, but once again, they had a certain relationship that I'll never understand. But then again, you know, I love my grandfather to death, and I, you know, in time of knowing my grandmother, I've learned to resent the hell out of her, mainly because of how she treated my cousin Emily. And there's a story I'll get into with her down the road, but definitely she did a lot of bad things towards her, and you know, I can't you know, forgive that part, because it mentally destroyed my cousin, and knowing how vicious that woman was towards a lot of people, you know, it's one of those things to where, you know, you almost accept the frailties that your grandfather had about cheating on his wife, when he's sitting there going, well, she's kind of a bitch. So I mean, maybe he kind of understood why he had to go do it. Maybe he felt better about it. I don't know. Not that it's right, but I'm just saying you get that. But anyway,
well, to end it on a positive note,
interesting show today. We talked.
The red pill guys are stupid.
Yeah, man, 100% agree. 100% agree.